Hey guys, how we doing tonight? JC with Hangar Ready. With me tonight are my co-hosts Jolly, Turing, and new Kylie Josh, who is our resident head of the Fighter Mafia and ADI. So, Josh, you've had, before we get started on our topics today, you've had an adventure today, haven't you?
Well,
Getting ready.
I think I've known you, Jay, for like 7 or 8 years, and we've had many different adventures. And though I've called you for advice and help, today Jay reached out to me and said, "Are you going to be on Hangar Ready?" And I was like, "Oh my God, I don't have this little Cam Link card that I need that you can get at Best Buy." So I ran to Best Buy, the local one. They didn't have it. So of course I have to go to one that's 25 miles away. And of course, this is near where my wife and I have been looking for a couch because we ripped out our floors, we sold our couch, we sold our chairs, we had nothing. So while we're down there, my wife says, "Hey, we should take a look at the couches," right? So I
We've
said,
all
Jay,
been there.
First mistake.
yeah, right. I was avoiding this part of town specifically because we just spent all this money for Christmas and whatever, right? So I sent Jay a picture and said, "This is going to cost me a lot more money than this little cam card that I needed." So here we are. The total was spent about $5,000. So I'll send an invoice to Atlas Defense Industries.
Hey, it's not my fault that you got sidetracked into a shopping spree for couches. Well, seeing as this is probably the first time all of us on the show have been married, I think all of us can feel your pain.
And they're saying there's sound on Callie. They're saying no sound on Josh.
Hold on. Hold on a second. Wait, hold on. No sound from Callie. Hold on a second. Well, we need to fix it. Okay. Joni, on his on his thing, you probably need to add in the audio for hit plus NDI source, and then there should be like a Skype audio option under existing. It's not you, Josh. It's us.
Okay, hold
Okay, let's switch back to him. Now, here's a quick question. Guys, can you hear him when it's all four of us on screen?
Sure do.
You can hear me now.
Yeah, say something, see if they can hear you.
Here.
No, when he's on screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Say something,
can-
Josh.
You can hear me now.
I hear Josh fine.
We can hear you. It's not whether we can hear you. It's
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
they can hear
All right,
you
so
now.
Does that mean I have to tell that?
Yeah, you have to tell the whole story over. I'm so sorry. Yeah, we got to suffer through it because nobody could hear it. I apologize, guys. It's the first time we've had 4 people on in a while, and we had a little technical glitch. Yes.
So I've known Jay for probably 7 or 8 years. And in that time, I have certainly turned to Jay for some technical help that I appreciated, whether that was with a HOTAS or some program that was screwing up or whatever, right? So Jay and I talked about me being on Hangar Ready at some point, but we didn't have a definitive date. And I get a random message saying, "Hey, are you going to be on Hangar Ready?" Well, I needed something called a cam link because my camera that we're using now doesn't directly plug into a computer in a way that works with Skype. So I said, fine. I go to the local Best Buy, which is only like 5 miles from my house. It said they had it online. We go there, they can't find it. So the next place to go is 25 miles away. So this time I called and verified it, and they said, "Yeah, we have it in stock." So we placed the order online. Now, prior to all of this, months ago, we ripped out all of our flooring. We sold our couches.
Hey, go to multi-view.
Sold our chairs. They had nothing. So my wife and I, over the last few months, have been looking at couches and chairs and whatever. And this area where this other Best Buy is happens to be near couches and chairs that we were interested in. So we randomly went into a place today that's a new store in the same area. And the first couch we see when we walk in the door catches our eye. And I send a picture to Jay and I said, "This trip might cost me more than this little cam link." So at the end of the day, I spent several hours down there. We went and re-looked at the couches we'd seen before, came back to this couch, bought it, and I got back just in time. So what started out as a little $100 Camley card turned into $6,000 in purchases. So I will send my invoice to Atlas Defense Industries.
Because it's all my fault.
So next time you see donations come up, this is what. No, I'm kidding. So that's how I got here today.
I think we're close on audio, guys. I know we've got a couple little glitches, but
Maybe I can change to help his leg.
no. Well, I mean, you can make sure that it's on lowest latency and hardware accelerated.
We were about an hour and 30 minutes away from Fremont. But yes, Fry's didn't have it. That's to
Yeah. Joni's getting used to things again.
Celtic.
Okay.
Full hundred is who that is.
Tufelhunden, yes. Okay, well, with all of that introduction, let's talk about our first chat topic, which is what, Jolly? What's our first thing that we're going to
State of
pester people?
SC 3.8.
Yummy, yummy, yummy. Better than 3.7
True.
by any stretch of the imagination, but not as good as we'd like it to be. So I think there's one big bug we got to talk about. And, because every time we have a patch, we have to introduce, crippling bugs. And this one is FPS is borked. Anytime, if you pull a weapon or if you pull the mining laser, there's a high percentage chance that it's not going to fire. And there is a workaround for it. It's annoying as all get out, but you can bind the inspect item button, which, by the way, is not automatically bind.
It's not bound right now.
No, you have to you have to set it in your options.
I mean, so you got to set it and tap that key twice to inspect it and uninspect it, and then the gun will fire again. Also, as normal, when you're changing weapons very rapidly, you have a tendency of throwing them into the ether and them disappearing.
Yeah, the workaround with that is make sure you press and hold R to store your whatever you're carrying before you pull out the next.
Yep. You have to press and hold R so it'll store.
Yeah, because it's not only will it throw it away, but it disappears when it throws it away.
Yeah, and we don't mean it throws it on the ground and you can pick it
No,
up.
it goes
and
poof.
Yeah,
It goes
there's no
poof.
persistence on that.
Into the ether.
Knuckles, I don't believe they actually addressed that the last SIG briefing they gave to us. But for guys, the workaround's pretty simple. Go into key bindings, advanced key bindings, go to on foot, scroll all the way down. You'll see inspect. And right now it's blank. I use the slash key, which is immediately located left of the right shift, and bound that to it because it's not used for anything else. And I admit, for me, it's 100% of the time I'm trying to use the mining tool. I have to, before I hit left to start fracturing, I have to hit that key to get the thing to work again. For me, it's 100% requirement.
Okay, guys. Well, we're all talking. Let's make sure we've gotten most of our issues worked out on Skype and everything. If you guys are still seeing audio problems or anything like that, let us know. There is going to be a hair bit of a out of sync between the Skype video and the audio, but there shouldn't be with mine because I'm here locally to the studio. While we're talking about that, the problem with it is that hand mining and ship mining are really the only two ways to make any real money in the game now, because 30K crashes have made cargo hauling a very risky endeavor, right?
It has.
I mean, you just can't do it because you buy 100K worth of something and you go trucking it somewhere and you get off the pad and get 5 minutes into the run and 30K, the server crashes and you lose all your money.
If
You
you gotta-
can, Jay. I'll tell you what it's caused for me is that it's changed my philosophy on making money in 3.8 using cargo runs. I only look at what I need for like my next upgrade for my ship. If I'm buying new components or whatever, I'm not going to go out there and start trying to make 4.5 million, 5 million, whatever. Or you're going to get trying to fill your Caterpillar completely with 400,000 to 1.4 million of cargo. It's not a good thing because the 30K crashes are happening by player action. There's a lot of actions that players take that crash the server, and when you have 50 people on, you don't know what's happening. You never know when somebody's going to do that thing. Remember back when you used to put the gun into the rack on board like a 300i or something like that,
And the whole server would go poof.
it would crash the server. That's the same type thing I'm talking about. There's a lot of player generated crashes, and it's just too risky.
Yep.
For now, it seems to be missions and mining are the two safest ways to try to earn some credits.
Boxes work.
Yeah, box missions are great.
Yeah.
Yeah, but mining you can make so much more
You do.
realistically time-wise. And you could do bounty missions and stuff, but mining and hand mining are still some of the least risky, highest profitable.
Hand mining specifically because if it crashes with stuff in your backpack, you keep it still, as opposed to your ship, which you lost.
That is correct.
Or you can do both. We did that in a mission.
Yeah, that's what I was doing too.
So
And sure enough, they had a 30,000, lost the shipload, but what I had in my backpack was most of my profit anyways.
Or
And you
can
hadn't
get
laid any
rammed
money out ahead of time. That's the
Right.
big thing.
yeah,
Or you can get
yeah,
rammed into when you're going to Port Olisar by an 890.
or that. Let's talk about the other crazy bug that will drive you mad. Rearm, refuel, and repair. Doesn't work if you touch down on the pads.
No.
So, Jolly, what you've got this down like you've got a whole process that you have
Yeah,
for this. What is it?
Everybody pretty much knows this by now, I think, or at least I hope so. At least you
I
need to
don't
go to
think
one of the
so.
stations, bring yourself into a hover, ask for permission for you, so you have a landing pad. You get the blue squares around the pad itself. Bring yourself in. Do not touch down. You can't get too close either. You want to stay about 3 to 5 meters above the pad itself. So think about the third blue line up. If you're looking at the third blue line, you're pretty well safe. I've also those turns saying also don't drop your gear. Leave your gear up. So you're sitting there in a hover, and then carefully just go to your mobiGlas, bring up the wrench, and work yourself through your repair, your refuels as necessary, and rearms.
And then you
I've
can
had
land.
100% success
Well,
so far.
Jolly, what I said is if it doesn't work with your gear down, pull your gear up and try it again.
All right.
So, also Hurl L5 as a rest station. No matter what you do, you're not going to be able to refuel them. It just doesn't work there on virtually any of the pads.
Cool.
But as long as you avoid that one issue, it's not the way it should be. I used to always do my repairs and refuelings after landing, just before I jumped out of the seat. And now I have to change that around completely, but it's not a big deal. If you make
Yeah,
a
but-
mistake and you land, take back off. Don't forget to ask permission to land again. They should assign you the exact same pad and repeat the process.
Well, and in this patch, I don't know if people have noticed, previous patches, you would set a destination and it would show you in your mobiGlas whether you had enough quantum fuel to get there or not, and it would prevent you from going into quantum if you did. In this
Now
patch,
it won't.
right, you can get stuck in the middle of nowhere, and it
Yeah.
happened to me. So you got to pay attention to a couple more things with your ship.
But
Yeah, it still will show you how much quantum fuel you're going to use, but it's no longer redded out, and the B button will engage. That's the problem. So if you don't get into a habit of checking that, then you could get caught in a situation.
And
Yeah,
Frank
the other-
pointed out also he's a claimer. I do the exact same thing too. If I get away with it,
Yeah.
land a ship, get inside, claim it, or if I go to a different station, I claim it there too. It's a free reload, though. To be honest, even when I've used up almost all my fuel and a lot of my weapons, and I've got a little bit of damage on me, I'm still less than 1,000 AUC to get the whole thing fixed up again. So it's not a lot of credits, but if you want to be real cheap, I agree with Frank. Just go ahead and claim it.
Have you tried refueling an 890?
No, I have not.
It's about 100,000 UEC.
Well, only a fool flies an 890 anyways.
And I don't know if you can.
I guess I'm
and
a fool.
Josh, I'm not
Yeah.
sure that you can refuel it anywhere. The only place you can land that thing is at Lorville and Area 18. You can't. They won't even let you pull into a pad because they won't even give you a pad at any of the other locations.
Yeah. I tried it once at Area 18 and I said, oh no, I'm going to be a cheap claimer.
Yeah, this is a cheap claimer for 890. That's all you
Yep.
can do with that one. I'm a cheap claimer too, and especially when I get ready to log off for the
Oh, yeah.
evening.
Yeah,
Everything
every
goes
time.
into claim.
just claim it and be done with it.
You know what's going to happen though? We're going to develop this habit. We're going to get into the real PTU and you're going to
Yeah.
claim something that you shouldn't.
Yeah, but all my ships have LTI, so what do I care?
Well, I mean, if you've got upgrades or you've got cargo in there, you're going to
Yeah,
put
you gotta-
some guns in the
sure,
rack.
Yeah,
upgrades.
that's the big thing is if you got cargo when real
You got your-
persistence comes
Oh
in.
yeah, you
Yeah.
got to be
Cup of
careful about
coffee.
that. So missions, claim jumper missions, are about broken 50% of the time. Turing, you were telling me about this earlier today.
Yeah, so the claim jumper mission is the one that is around the asteroid belts. They put a lot more asteroids around the repair refueling spots, and so you pull this mission and it gives you a claim number, and when you go into your map, you'll have that claim number there, and you can quantum to that location. The problem is if you get to that location and you see two of the same markers, usually about 14K apart with the same number, then that claim jumper mission is broken. And it will not, no matter how much you fly around and try to, punch a hole in that marker, it's not going to spawn the ships. And you don't really know until you get there whether or not the marker is going to be broken or not. All you can do is abandon it, try to pull another one. That's it.
Yep. No way around it. Just abandon and go. So, and then we've got spawn traps. Okay, guys, there are prisons in Star Citizen 3.8, and you can't get out of them. So here's the locations. The two stations above Hurston and Microtech. They are prison planets. If you accidentally go into, if you log off at either of those locations, there's a high likelihood that you can't get out.
Yeah, it's about a 65% chance that when you spawn in, you will be even. What's really cool is if you ever look on the map, or if you have somebody else that makes it in, you'll literally be on the other side of the hab, away from them. Your marker will be on the other side, and in that part of the hab, the elevators don't work. Now, here's the real key for it. If you try to exit and come back to the same server because your buddies are playing on it, the error repeats itself. The only way to get around it is you have to go to another server. And really the only way to assure that is you have to change regions. So this is why, with an operations standpoint, we're not allowing any start points at Everest Harbor or Port Tressler because of that problem. You can't. It's not an easy fix. Everybody has to go out and go on a new server if you want your party to continue.
Which would be a major hassle.
Major hassle.
Yeah.
So
major
I
hassle.
think I saw the next op's going to feature over 40 people. So yeah, organizing that back.
The goal is 48 or more.
Yep.
Right.
Well, 48 to 50. Can't really get more than that.
Right now.
Right now. Maybe 60. We're going to talk about that in a second.
Jay, I think we missed a few of the mission ones up there. I saw some extra ones up there that we had added.
Oh,
Call to arms.
Call to arms pays you when you're not on a mission.
Yep.
How does that work? I've never. Is
Yeah,
that a
so
way to
if
get
you-
money?
Yes. Yes.
I mean, it's just
So-
that you accept it like a mission, but it continues while you're in that server. If you see a bad guy or a guy in red, you can. Do you have to scan them first, or is it anybody that's in red? I can't remember.
I don't think, maybe some folks on the chat have worked it too. I don't believe you have to scan them first,
Because I know
because
one of the,
NPCs now carry a crime stat rating. So I don't think you have to. The key is they won't pay you while you're actually running a mission, so your mission people won't pay, but it's anybody else.
yeah, because I got interdicted and I got paid for some people that were
Right.
red during the interdiction.
Right. So,
Ooh.
used to when you would get interdicted by a bunch of pirates, I kill them, not kill them. It's just a waste of ammo. Well, now it's not really a waste of ammo. It does add up on your call to arms.
I think
So-
the max you can get paid is like 1,000, 1,200 UEC or something.
Yeah, that.
Not a lot, but it can be worth it.
Yeah.
So if you're in a combat craft and you're scooting around, you should have call to arms.
Now, something
Yeah.
you need to know though is if you leave that server, when you come back, you have to go back in and re-accept the call to arms.
Of
That's
course.
correct.
Yeah, every time. But if you're doing combat missions and you like blowing crap up, you should be running call to arms.
Chat's saying it maxes out at 1,500.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. And
Mector makes a good point. If you're on a bounty mission and he's got two friends, you kill the bounty, you get paid for that. You kill the other two targets, you get the call to arms if you have call to arms.
woo! Still not as profitable as safe as hand mining, but worth knowing.
Yeah.
Okay. NPCs also have crime stat rating. I think we talked about that. Wipes.
Well,
Now this is.
Jay, can I just say one thing about the crime stat thing?
Go ahead.
you'll know how difficult that NPC is going to be to kill now relative to the before. Used to, you would tell by the dollar amount. Now you can tell by the crime stat rating. The higher the crime stat, the more likelihood they're in a larger ship or have buddies with them.
Of course. So here's a pet peeve of mine. At CitizenCon, they talked about, hey, we're going to have persistence. And I think a lot of people don't listen very carefully to what Chris says because there's a lot of caveats in that sentence. And I think a lot of people are super excited. Oh, persistence here. We're not going to have wipes. We're going to have very few wipes. There's going to be lots of wipes. And I'm putting my nickel down right now. We'll go around the corner with everybody. But I'm putting a nickel down right now that 3.8.1 or whatever that equivalent is, there is a database wipe associated with it because of all the crashes and everything. Jolly, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Now, right now, if you notice, there's a lot of players running around without a head in the game. I got a feeling because of the number of those that are running out there, we're going to see a wipe. I did not expect a wipe until 3.9. Now I'm concerned there's going to be a wipe in 3.81.
I think it's a done deal. Turing, what's your vote? Wipe
Definitely
or no
a
wipe?
wipe because there's too many problems with the money duplication problem and the ship duplication problem.
Yeah.
Right now, some people have ships that have been duplicated. They've got 5 to 6, caterpillars in their account, things of that nature. Anytime you cause more ships or problems with the player in-game data, in-game hangar list, it's going to wipe.
Yep. Josh, what's your thoughts? Wipe or no wipe?
I want to say that there's not going to be a wipe. I know that's not going to be the most popular opinion.
I'll take his nickel right now.
Yeah, you can have my nickel, but the only reason I say that is during some of the pre-release 3.8, because for anyone who doesn't know, I'm an Evocati, so I'm not going to share anything that was in that. I saw some signs of some things that suggested it might be possible, and we did have the update to 3.8 that came out without that wipe. So I'm gonna say I'm hopeful, but I'll give you my nickel now just in case.
Yeah. I don't think you're gonna have that nickel come 3.8.1. But okay. Couple of things. PTU had a test for 24 hours this week. 60 player servers. Yay! Can we hope that we will see higher player counts? Let's cross our fingers.
I think,
Go ahead. Jolly, all you.
I think, yes, you're going to see this continue to increase. They talked about 100 earlier. I hope they get to 200 eventually. Slow incremental increases over time, I think, are going to occur.
I agree. It'd be wonderful to have 200 in a server. Can you guys imagine the kind of operations we could run with 100 people?
Well, if you think of just you want to fully field Idris out with players, you want to field 2 of them in the same server.
You're talking basically 60 right
full
there.
Crew. Then we're talking about numbers that they have got to increase.
Yep, completely agree.
I will say in doing some of the testing and the PTU stuff, I think some of the server side OCS, maybe OCSS is causing some issues with 3.8. I think if they can get those worked out, I think it'll be much better. But in the 60 player stuff, I was in a server where they tried to get everybody down to Shubin mining facility and it wasn't pretty.
No. No, I think I was in that same thing, and it started really having desync issues, and It was a real problem.
It was killing frame rates. I think I was down to about 13.
Yeah, frame rates are going to be the issue. Anybody who's played EVE in a major battle, when we're talking about 1,000 players in the same system, the slideshow that occurs, I think is what we're going to see if when we do eventually get that many players into one server itself or one instance itself.
Yeah, they're just going to have to figure out how to do meshing, and that's just going to take some time. So, one last thing, which kind of hinted that we're doing ops again. Quantum linking is working. No crashes to desktop from it, really. Excuse me. And so we're going to be back in the game. We're going to be back and going. Go. Okay, next subject. Subject number 2. I'm going to run a little bit behind schedule here, guys. Argo Mole. It came out here. And I got to be honest, it's a pretty kick-ass little ship. Or big ship, however you want to look at it, medium size. What's everybody's take on the Argo Mole, Turing?
It's a kick-ass ship, and it will kill you if you don't watch out.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's not forgiving.
Do not try to use the ladders anytime it's moving. I don't care if it's in if it's in quantum or whatever, and make sure 100% that you get out of those laser pods before whomever's driving tries to land it. You can't do that. I think it's a good ship if you like multiplayer, play. You can make some good money to it. It takes a little bit of practice in order to get the sequencing down. You really need to, all four of you, be in G about how you're going to operate it between the pilot and get a senior miner in that center seat, and then run. Then you can really make some money. I think it also works better in space versus on the surface. It really is kind of a gas hog.
Yeah, gotta be.
I will. My favorite thing about that ship, I think for me, I'm attracted to like some of the combat ships, like the Eclipse. I just had to buy that ship because it just looks totally lethal. I love the Valkyrie because it just has such a specific combat role, and just the design of that ship is, something that's very appealing. The Argo is really an industrial square box. It's got some cool shapes to it a little bit, but when I got to fly that in the regular PTU outside of Evocati, they let Evocati fly it first. And when I came onto a pad, I got swarmed. So it was really nice to see the community really take onto that ship and want to see it and play with it. So despite all the little issues and whatever, I was really happy to see the response that there was to it.
Hey, Jacqueline, can you take us to the one that shows that chart there that you've got open? Yep. Sorry. There we go. Here's this mining head chart. Jolly, you put this together. Tell us, you've spaceforgames.com. Yeah, but you threw it in here for us. Hold on. Okay, they can't hear Jolly. Okay, you got to.
I think I know why.
Hold on, she's got to add the syncing audio in here. I'm sorry.
Sorry, it didn't.
Okay, we're back. Jolly, give me a test shout real quick. Oh,
To the prospector in terms of its ability to obviously gather more ore, and more importantly, to be able to use three different lasers at the same time. That's an advantage, point blank. The disadvantage is you can't really do it solo. You can, if you're a pilot, you take it in there close enough at the range you want, get in your one laser you can operate, and start chopping away at it. The problem is, I personally use both the laser of the strength of the laser I'm trying to fracture the rock with, and distance to and from the rock in order to control myself, make sure I get in the stay in the green zone. I don't have that option in a mole. I do in a prospector. I did not pick up a mole. I flew it around quite a bit when it was available to all of us. I think it's a great little ship. I think it's a big plus for mining. I think the Orion will be even a bigger plus. But just for me, it's not what I was interested in. I want to build the ability to be able to mine solo safely, and I can with that. Now, one thing that I do like the additions of all the additional laser bits they put onto the mole for you, and some of them are listed right here. You come up with good combinations between what will do well for you. Mixing them up, I think it was Drake Edge, who I want to give a little credit to, who's one of the first to inform me of this. If you take them and you mix what were the three? You want a Helix 2, along with, they were in my notes here earlier, a Lancet, and where'd it go? The Lancet and the Halstead 2. You mix those three together. You use the Helix as your primary braking laser. You turn the other two on. Minimum power, just 0.1% is all you need. So you get the advantage of them not fracturing too much, and they're less likely to blow up on you at the same time. You just focus on the Helix 2 to break the rock apart. If it's not enough power for that Helix 2, which I doubt, but it can happen, then you bring on one of the other lasers slowly in order to get it to a fracture. There's little tricks you have to use in this too. You want to make sure you only have one laser looking at that rock, you get a good scan, if you have all three go in there, you'll confuse the readout on it. So have the other two side lasers go to the offset. Just focus on the one laser in the front to go ahead and look at what you want to do. Now, if you want to fly a Prospector 2, obviously you can still change around your lasers. Don't forget you're limited to size 1 versus size 2 that a mole could take. I did initially get rid of the default laser binding bit itself. I picked up a Halstead 1, which they called a safe laser, which is true because you can't get enough power up to really do much
anything?
with it, include break
Do
a
much
prop.
with it, yeah.
So I dropped that and I picked up a Helix 1, which, yes, you're more likely to blow yourself up if you know what you're doing. But I have run across no limits whatsoever on any rocks I want to blow up with it. So right now I'm running around with a Prospector with a Helix 1. I'm really happy with that setup right there.
Okay. The only thing I would add is voice comms are a mandatory for the mole.
Yeah.
You cannot try to do this via text message or in-game chat. You have to be either using in-game VoIP or you've got to have TeamSpeak or Mumble or Discord or something that your team is operating on.
The cost comes into play too. These things aren't necessarily cheap. Like I said, I'm using the Helix 1, which I'm happy with. It costs 108K AUEC. The Halstead, which I pretty much now I know wasted my money on, was a little over 12,000. So the Helix will make up. It'll pay for itself at a couple of days of mining, no problem. Just something to keep in mind. I don't recommend the Halstead unless you're really inept at mining and you don't want to blow yourself up. But it's going to really limit as for what type of ore you can go and gather.
Yep.
Do we want to talk about paying your crew through the contract system?
No, I think that's something we can talk about at a different point. I think that's how you pay your crew. That's a good topic for the next time. Let's put
just
that
how
pin
to
in
transfer
that.
money in general.
Well, that's what
Yeah.
I meant was just how you pay them. But okay, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think we just put a pin in that, and that's something that we can work something up for the next show.
Pay your crew?
Yes, pay your crew.
Bitch.
Who does that?
It's the privilege of riding along. Why
It's
should
a
I pay you?
privilege. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I have a
that-
question for Jolly, if I could, since he's done a lot more mining than I have this patch. Have you seen a drop off in the FPS minables that you scan now versus the last patch?
No, I have not. I have not run across a problem with to include a lot of big breaks. And obviously, you're leaving the junk behind. Rule of thumb I use is 40% of something good. I'll go for it. Less than that, I just cast it aside. Don't worry about it.
I
So
think
Well, I
he's
mean
talking
the
about
hand
hand
minables,
minables.
Jolly, the hand minables. Have you seen a
So-
decrease in
No, I
those
have
being
not.
out there? Because some of the hotspots we had before, like on
Are
Lyria,
dead.
they don't have as many as they did before. So I wondered
Love,
if they had
Loveridge
adjusted
is
it.
dead.
normally if I break a hand mine apart, I'll get 7 to 10 pieces parts to pick up. Low end might be 5. But one thing I have run across, which is the problem, is you break up a hand mineable, is they go below the rocks that are there, and you have to literally you can't see them. You have to just hit the interface key and scan around to get a circle that you know there's something still there. You pick them up that way. I think yesterday I was doing some hand mining, and half the rocks I picked up weren't visible. I had to search for them in that manner.
Well, I've got to say that Loveridge over on Lyra is is not the paradise that it was in 3.7.
Right. That's
There's
what
a
I've
lot
encountered.
fewer stuff over there.
Yeah, I think they've reset.
You have to go to
a little bit.
caves. You got to go to caves. There's no choice but to go to caves. So, hey, Jacqueline, we're going to go ahead and start talking about that joystick. You probably need to switch to full screen because it's got so much detail on the scene. You should have a full screen scene for that video computer, maybe. She doesn't know. She's looking real quick. Hold on a second. Not there. On the video, a scene on OBS. On the other computer. Yes. Do you have one that's just video or video and chat? Okay. Well, never mind then. Let's. So we're going to talk. This is going to be the contentious one. This is where all the hate mail is going to come from, and it's all my fault. My fault.
Mine too.
No. Trust me. Some of the stuff that's in here that I'm going to say, I'm going to take credit for it right now.
Well, I'll
right
wait
now.
to see. I'll wait to see.
Okay, that's not the HOTUS image there, Jacqueline. We'll get to those in a minute. There we go. So, and I wish I had a slightly bigger
My
screen
life
version
right
of
here.
this.
This is the bane of my life right here.
I need to go get my popcorn. I'll be right back.
I've spent more time looking at profiles like that than I care to admit.
So I can't do that right now. So the big thing here is controls are complicated. There's so much stuff for you to be a successful combat pilot that, and here is our not most current version, but fairly recent version of our Warthog profile. As you can see, there's a lot of buttons on there, Josh, and there's stuff missing. We're even on a Warthog, even with the alt or the corded,
The modified states.
whatever you want to call it. There's still not enough buttons for everything, and we don't have everything yet. So,
I mean, the numbers of layers of consideration for even designing this, it gets very deep very quick. And I don't know how far you want to go into it, but like, you can't do any one thing without considering what it's used for, what it does in game. Can you make a reasonable and logical place to put it where people can learn it? I mean, there's so many things that have come up, and then they go and make changes that rearrange everything. So it's a very complicated topic, and I don't want to lose people, but I will say that I think we've come up with something that I would put up for scrutiny by anybody. I can defend every button on there.
And more importantly, we have to have, as a large organization that has standardized profiles for training, we have to coordinate against all other HOTASs that we support.
Yes.
So it's not just that it has to work right on the Warthog. It's got to work right on the TM-16,000. It's got to work right on an X-52. And that's where, there's all of these things that it's a lot of, 4D chess, 3D chess, whatever you want to call it.
I will say, I think we've done a good job in breaking it down into systems. So for anyone who's familiar with a flight sim, particularly a combat sim, you'll have some 3-letter acronyms for like your TMS, which is your threat management system. And this should give you a 4-way hat switch. And with our modifiers, it's now an 8-way hat switch that lets you target and control all of your weapons targeting formats. You have a countermeasure system, which lets you defend yourself. For Star Citizen, we have added a flight management system, a power management system, and a shields management system. So we have
go to full screen on it.
Several systems that all of this breaks down to. And the nice feature is, because Jay mandated this, which has been a real pain in the rear.
It's all my fault.
Everything today, the couch, the HOTASs from my past months, it's all your fault. But the nice factor is, if you are flying with anyone in ADI who's familiar with the HOTAS profile, and you want to remember how to lock your missile, and someone says, hey, that's your TMS hat up, unmodified, so just push it up. That is universal across every single HOTAS. And to be clear, we are doing profiles for the 52, the 52 Pro, the 55, the 56, the Warthog, and the 65F at this time. We may change that.
And TM-16,000.
Yes, right, the 16,000. We may change that or something at some point, but every one of those systems in their primary state exist for you to use, so anyone can instruct anyone else if you just remember those 5 hats and where they are on your HOTAS.
Yes, it's amazing. And so, and this has been a lot of work, and I'm waiting for Jaglin to put us back to 4-way. This has been a lot of work that all 4 of us have been involved in. Turing's been involved in some of this, and Jolly's been involved in a lot of this.
And I have questions about the HOTAS they have.
Yeah.
And I want to address Neon's question. I did it, Neon. It took me 3 hours, but I made a 52 profile that doesn't require a mod state and has everything, or doesn't require a mode change. Everything is on a primary with a mod. There are no mode changes. I flew from California to Atlanta for Christmas, and I literally probably looked like some kind of psychopath sitting there with a clipboard and paper and looking at all my other profiles and looking at this one and back and forth and erasing and putting it back in. But it took me 3 hours. I did it.
It's there. It took forever, but we're there.
Yeah.
So let's talk about things that are going to help everybody The biggest one that I would recommend is non-standard keys are your friend. And what I mean by that is that Star Citizen is so complicated. Virtually every keyboard key is mapped out of the gate, right? And a lot of Alt and Shift keys. And one of the things that you're going to run into is that when you are trying to get stuff, it's not only that you have to find a key combination that isn't used, but you have to find a key combination that isn't used that if you're using that plus anything else that you might use with it, a different key combination, that you don't cause a third unintended action to occur, right? And that's really hard, isn't it, Josh?
It is.
The kind of mental gymnastics that you go through to run that to ground.
It is. One of the things that's kind of worked is having things on a systems and a hat switch. We can use that 2 key combination for a left, right, up, and down, so it's within the same function. And when we do another thing, we have a different modifier prior to it, so we don't try to get those conflicts. I have tested, and I've had several other people test. No one's reported that yet, but I'm standing by to hear it.
Yeah, I'll just remember a BMS profile I had once that if you tried to TMS up while you were pushing your PTT and messing with your DMS, it would eject you from the cockpit.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
You don't have eject bound to any of the HOTASs, just so you know.
Yes, I know.
Or
That's
self-destruct. Yeah.
Or
if you're going to do that, you can push the key.
But let's talk about non-standard keys here real quick.
Yeah.
So one of the things most people don't know is that in the USB profile, there are 12 keys that nobody uses that you can get mapped to macros or stream decks or things like that. And it's F13 through F24. Now back in, olden days, when Jolly and I first started using computers, there used to be 2 rows of function keys on these big IBM keyboards, and they've kept that in the USB HID. And so a lot of things will allow you to map F13 through F24 and Alt and Shift and control states of those. So if you need to set something up like push to talks, that's a safe button that will never interfere, right?
Yes, absolutely. And we have even set up key binding specific for your push to talks, which just adds one more layer to instructions. Some of the instructions are already so long, I don't like doing that. But this way, we're trying to prevent even more conflicts, but when you go to bind it to Mumble, you're going to have to use those specific keys.
Yes.
And then go ahead.
Go ahead. The other thing that we recommend to a lot of people are G keys on Logitech devices, both the keyboard and the mouse. The G key keyboards, the G key mouse that are quote not the ones that use the F keys as macros. We're talking about the ones that have the dedicated G keys. There's some cool stuff that you can do, particularly in Mumble and TeamSpeak with push to talks.
I think that's called a G13, isn't it?
Well, G13 and Jaglin's going to.
A keyboard is what I picked up.
Yeah, he's got a 910. I've got a 510S. There's a 600 something out there that's got it. And then you have here in this drawing that Jaglin's showing us is the G13 is another example of something. Yeah. I've got a 602 mouse that's got 6 of the G keys on the right-hand side.
I've got a 602 also.
Yeah, so there's a number of things that you could do there with push to talks and things like that are really handy. And the F13 through F24 and G keys are real big. One of the other things, and Josh was alluding to this, and you can take us off the screen for right now, Jaglin, is PTTs or whatever you want to call them. We call them prize. Other groups call them other things. But you have to have a bunch of those as you move forward in any size operation. You need to be able to communicate with the people in your ship. You need to be able to communicate with the people physically around you in game. You need to be able to communicate with the other ships in your flight. And then you also need to be able to communicate with upper echelon command and coordinate multiple flights or packages. These require lots of PTTs. I mean, Jolly, you and I on a small, 30-person org op are using 2 to 4 PTTs, depending on the op.
PTT and probably 2 prize. You usually get away with 2 prize. I've had as many as 5 prize on one op.
Yeah. But when we say pry, it's a push to talk button that sends you to a group of people so that they can hear you. That's
Outside
what
of
Or
a
a
room.
single person.
Yep.
or a single person to shout. Yeah. So, but each one of those requires a different push to talk button to make that action happen.
Yeah, and so I'd like to answer quick questions in the forum. Someone asked what profiles are posted. Two of them are currently in the forums. I believe they're in the members only section. The T1600 is there. The HOTAS Warthog is there. Part of the reason those are first is I have a Warthog, so it was easier for me to program. The other person helping me, Kailania, has the T1600, so we were able to test that internally. Right now, the 52 and the 56 are being worked on. There's one little technical challenge we got to kind of work out. We may have to talk about what software we use to program these because the OEM one has a limitation that is kind of a pain in the rear.
Annoying.
Yeah. There is no button. Someone asked about EVAing. There is no button there's no room for buttons to get out of your ship or escape. If that's a critical function, if something's happening in a combat situation, you don't need your HOTAS anymore. You can reach for the key. And I wouldn't want to put that there anyways. The push to talks are critical. One of the things that I want people to know, and we want feedback in those forums about the profiles, is we put a lot of time and care and effort, and I'll argue with you about every button in there, but I want feedback. We specifically put a hail ship when they hail targeted ship when they added that, and a VoIP for that ship because of a lesson learned from one of our ops. As soon as I saw that was available, that gave us one more channel of communicating with someone who's potentially violating a perimeter or who we need to tell what's going on with our operations so we don't end up in some conflict. So we're looking for feedback. So please post in there.
Definitely looking for feedback. So let's talk about the good. So we've got the good, the bad, and the ugly, and there's going to be some definitely wailing and gnashing of teeth of this. So good. SATEC sticks, now Logitech, whatever you want to call them, particularly the ones that were made either by SATEC or by Logitech, but not by Mad Cats. The 52, the 52 Pro, the 55, the 56. And if you can find the holy grail of the X65F used. Thrustmaster, TM16000s, and Warthogs. Remember that if you get the Warthog, you're going to need the pedals because there is no twist on it. Virpil, there's some guys that like that. We will not be doing Virpil controllers, at least in the first couple iterations. But I'm also told that certain models of Virpil don't have twists, so you need pedals. Best in show, if you are made of mad dollars, and let's see if Josh agrees with me because he just spent money on this. A Thrustmaster Warthog with an FSSB module.
Okay, so I want to throw one caveat out here first.
I mean, if money's no object, is that not the best setup?
That is the best, but let's throw one thing out here first. I think the 55 and 56 present a really, really good value.
Yes.
And for what they have, if people ask for my recommendation and budget is your consideration, I would say go with that over
56.
the T1600 because I hear the throttle on the T1600, which I haven't used, is a little slippy and hard to be fine-grained on. The 56 has some nice options. I think it's about $50 more. But if you're going to be a mad, insane person like me, not only do I have an FSSB now on my stick, but I replaced the slew on my Warthog with an FSSB. So for anyone that doesn't know, that's a force sensing. So it doesn't really move very much. It's still analog to where you have increments, but the stick physically does not move. The biggest limitation initially to the Warthog is the fact that the little slew knob is very hard to use for strafe and was never really considered for using it for flight purposes. For $50, I'm not telling you to spend money, you can upgrade it to a nice little analog stick. But in my opinion, from spending all this time with all the different HOTASes, I think the Warthog presents a very nice number of hat switches, a really good layout, and with that FSSB stick, that you can adjust the pressure to. So you put a little more pressure, a little less. You can do more forward, less back. In fact, it's specifically stated you want to use a little bit less pressure to the right because NASA said that in some study that, using that for roll, you need a little bit less pressure to the right because it's just not a natural position for the wrist. So you can dial that thing in. It's great. I will warn you though, total cost, and I got my Warthog on sale. Total cost is about $1,300. If you didn't get your Warthog on sale or a few years ago, it's probably going to be about $1,400-1,500. So it's not cheap, but it is fantastic.
Yeah, well, it's if money is no object, it is the solution.
Now, I'll be honest, I had a Warthog for like 2.5 years before I bought these upgrades. So it wasn't like I just dived in and did it right away.
Sure.
But I would say it's a very, very good option. And it also works well for flight sims.
And if you can find one, the next best thing, which is a lot less expensive, is an X65F.
And it basically is the exact same thing. Because is there something I still am trying to understand?
There's no movement in the 65.
Okay, because I have just like 1/8 of an inch, a very slight little amount of movement in mine.
Yeah, there's none in the 65. It is just pressure, nothing else.
Does it give you a warning when you get to the limit?
No.
Okay. So mine goes beep, beep, and gives you a little flashing light if you get to 80%. And then it screams at you if you get to 100.
No, it doesn't do anything like that. It allows you to just push it all the way over to 100 if you want. Now, the one thing that the X65 has is it has multiple force settings that you can reach on your throttle hand and change on the fly. So you can have
a G1 through 4 keys or whatever they are?
Yes. You can't use those for anything else.
Okay.
So, or I think it's, I'll look and tell you, but you got 4 keys. You could have 4 presets. So you could have a takeoff and then a flight pro thing and then, or profile. And then you could have a, oh crap, I'm in a dogfight profile. And you could switch between them on the fly. So that's really cool about it. And if you look around, you can find those on eBay for $200-300 sometimes.
Well, the realsimulator.com one that I purchased for mine was $550 with shipping.
Plus the Warthog.
Well, right. That's just.
I'm talking about the 65F.
No. I know. I'm just saying in comparison what the pricing is.
Okay, now on to the bad. Only morons use dual sticks.
Oof.
That's going to draw some hate. Not morons. I'm being facetious there. They don't make sense, though. And Jolly, I think you and I are on the same page on this. Talk to us about pilot fatigue and why dual sticks are bad because of pilot fatigue.
First, we'll talk about the big good. Okay. If you are a solo fighter, you're doing a short-term fight, those who are good at dual joysticks are very, very good with it. So I have to recognize that. You can't just throw that part away. If you know what you're doing with them, and you're in a short-term fight, a 15-minute, 20-minute fight max, they work out fine. The problem comes into play is if you're on a 2-hour mission, maintaining specifically the throttle in a certain level is going to be a pain in the butt. You're going to get a lot of fatigue going with yourself. That's the negative on it. So if you all you do is play a rated commander and you're good with dual joysticks, having that you'll do well. But in Star Citizen, the PU, and you have long missions, you have to maintain this with breaks in between here and there, no real rest. It's got to work against you.
Can we bring up the image of the HOTAS profile from the Warthog again?
Yeah, hold on a second. We'll get that up while we keep talking. That's the one you had before. Sorry, I'm having to talk to Jaglin. She's running the studio tonight all by herself, and I don't know. She's got to find it. I gotta keep talking while she finds it.
Well, I'll address a question that someone posted up here saying that cruise control can mitigate some of that. That may or may not be possible. But what we've experienced in the past is that when speeds change, when you're trying to maneuver and be a proper wingman and follow your leader, it's very hard to follow those constant changes back and forth and stay in position. The reason I asked for this Warthog thing to be brought up is dual sticks lacks the amount of controls to do what I call the 3 keys. That's move, shoot, and communicate. That's what you got to be able to do as a large org and in an op. So flying 1v1 in a quick arena commander mission, it may or may not be the best controls. I've never used it. I hear different opinions on it. But if you're going to fly in an org op, I mean, have we ever had an org op under an hour?
No.
Not one that's
unless you
not
crash
failed
out with
to
30,000.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
30,000s, but that would be it.
Yeah, minus something like that. You're talking about as a combat pilot in particular, flying around a perimeter over and over and over again. You're going to be flying for at least an hour, maybe 2 hours.
We can go back to him.
And when you are looking at all the controls that are on that thing, the number of hat switches and buttons, there is no dual joystick that's going to give you those. And as Jay mentioned earlier, we're already missing some controls. Now, can you pare it down and only have certain emergency controls? Sure. But doing all three of those keys and being able to sustain that during the entire time of an org op and with your flight partners, I think it's going to be very challenging.
And there's two other issues here. One is, and this is kind of my jargon that I use, and it may not be right, is a knife fight in a telephone booth is not the yardstick you use to determine what is the best setup. Because outside of Arena Commander, you're not going to be in these environments where 60 seconds from now I'm going to enter combat. I need to be at peak performance for the next 15 or 20 minutes. And the instant I kill the last enemy or the instant that the engagement ends, my flight ends. And so I don't have any of the travel to and any of the travel from. I don't have any of the surprise or any of the, dancing at distance as you're trying to jockey in to get into kill range and things like that you have in a tradition, you're going to have in the PU. And so, knife fights and telephone booths, that's how you're measuring success, 1v1 or Arena Commander free-for-alls. If that's how you're measuring whether a control setup is the best or not, you're just not thinking about all the other piloting that you have to do to get to and from that fight in the PU. I mean, maybe if you flew around with a carrier and all you did was launch off the carrier, go kill stuff and come back and land, then knife fight in a telephone booth as your yardstick might make some more sense.
Well, and everyone I've talked to who uses dual sticks, when I ask them a couple of questions, it becomes clear that most of their combat experience is either 1v1 or they were 1v2 or 3, and those 2 or 3 weren't working together. I know that if we have 2 guys working together, you might be able to put, a serious threat to one of those ships, but now you've got a second ship to contend with. So as a large org, I know we preach it all the time when people say, hey, something happened in the PU, fly with friends. I mean, we always have people on. There's always some people around. So yeah, the context of what you're flying with, I think needs to be considered, and the group you're with and what you're doing. Now, I will say, I want to put this out there because I get this question. I've seen it come up. Can you pass any of our future planned certification requirements with any peripheral that you want? And as far as I know, the answer to that is yes, it's an objective test. I will challenge, though, that it may be more difficult with dual sticks in some cases for some of the things that's going to be there.
Some of the profiles, for some of the certifications, yes.
Certain parts of that criteria.
It won't matter one bit. It just will, but that brings up my next point of the reason dual sticks are a bad idea. And this isn't just limited to dual sticks, but it's the big key thing that dual sticks allow you to do, which is strafing in combat is dangerous and you should avoid it. And here's why. We've got this saying in ADI, getting blown up is bad. Having the enemy kill you is bad. Losing in a dogfight 1v1 is bad. You strafing into your wingman in a fight and killing him and damaging you is unforgivable.
Yeah, I mean, and the ops we've had plenty of deconfliction issues already. Trying to throw in a strafe axis and some crazy maneuvers that break you from your teammate or your squads or out of your formation position, I don't see how there's any advantage to that at all.
So, Turing, you've been awful quiet during this. What are your thoughts?
Did I love being a cargo pilot?
Can avoid the issue altogether.
Politically correct, Turing.
The way we're going is the way we need to go. We have to go that way if we're going to operate as a successful operating organization. And it doesn't mean that individuals necessarily have to jump on board and download these profiles, et cetera. I think the number one good thing about it is just like what Josh said at the very beginning. If you have the profiles, if you become familiar with them and you have a question, people can help you walk through it because you have the same profiles. It's one of the one of the questions we sometimes get when we're playing is, how do you go about doing X? Well, for me, and you always have to caveat it. Well, on my HOTAS, I've got it mapped to blank, or I use the keyboard, or whatever. That to me is one of the benefits to it. Does that mean that everybody's going to universally adopt it? Probably not.
No,
but if you're in fleet security, and I would also probably say PCS, you really need to pay attention.
Let me
get on board with it.
Let me put a little bit of a cap on top of that. Someone had mentioned, you should get a spreadsheet and you should lay out all the control profiles and then you should plan this. We have been doing that for months and months. And not only do we have every single control mapped out, but we have them prioritized. And this is how we began to work through the list. And there are so many controls in there that I played Star Citizen for years. And I'm going to admit something here. I didn't know what the heck activate scan meant until about 2 weeks ago. And that's why I say that I knew what scanning radar ping did and doing a scan, but activate scan is a whole different thing. And somehow in all of the testing, and because I have to know what every function does and how they change it. And they've made change recently to where they had target focus has now been changed to a new name. And then they had it set up in the options originally where you could make it part of look ahead and then disable, enable, and they had a whole new name for it. So one of the things that we're doing for you in these profiles is we're keeping track of every change that they make. We go into game and test it, see what it does, and make sure that this is either something that needs to be a priority or not. So these profiles reflect that. And in some of the most recent ones, one of my favorite add-ons they did recently was deselect target. If you didn't know before, if you had a target selected and you lost the target, as soon as it came back. And if you had a missile lock, it came back with that missile lock. Now, if that's your only target and if that's your focus, that's great. But if that's no longer your focus or you have a higher priority or something changes, you couldn't change that before. So now we have added deselect target to our TMS or threat management system hat. So again, we are doing all this crazy amount of work just for you. So yes, you have to download the profiles. You have to use them. You have to praise this. You have to write in the forums how great they are.
And I would just add that Josh and his crew are doing a fantastic job. At the same time, CIG continues to change keybinds in just about almost every other patch. And so that's one of the other reasons why we haven't seen all these things roll out before, is because we had to get to a point where we were pretty confident that they're just running out of keys. So hopefully everything is there.
Yeah, I'm going to make a slight announcement and just kind of dangle this in front of Josh and then switch it over to Jolly. And that is,
here comes another couch.
A rumor monkey came around and whispered in my ear that S7 may be getting another team lead and somebody that you're going to want. And the first letter of his call sign starts with a J, but don't say it out loud because we haven't talked to him yet.
I don't know who you're talking about.
I think you do.
I'm drawing a blank. Can you send me a message?
The person that you spend a lot of time talking to HOTASs about that
the
has
one
been
that
off
you said
limits.
I couldn't have before?
Yes.
If you give him to me, I'll be a very happy man.
See, so stop complaining about the couch. So Jolly.
Yeah, he just paid for the couch.
So Jolly, as the only one of us that is actually sat in a fighter jet with a force sensing HOTAS and flown it, tell us what your
thoughts are. In a fighter jet, period.
Yeah, well, no, I don't know about that, but he's definitely the only one that's actually flown one with force sensing stick. I'm willing to bet that's the case.
What about it?
What do you think about this? The argument of dual sticks and HOTAS setups and all that stuff.
It's a mistake, but I understand certain guys are gifted with it. I'm not saying please don't do it. I'm saying do what works. Overall, I think whatever works best for you is what you should use. That's what I truly, truly do believe. But my advice is in the PU with long-term flying involved, I don't recommend a dual stick. I do recommend a HOTUS or something else, something that allows you to relax in between. Josh is bringing up really good points. Imagine you're not the flight lead, but you're the wingman. You need to stay within 200 meters of your flight lead, who's a dork and keeps increasing and decreasing his speed. You're going to get real tired real quick, constantly moving that left stick around to adjust your speed accordingly, as opposed to a throttle, which is you can rest your wrist, just slightly move it forward and aft as necessary. It's a lot easier on your hands, a lot easier on your wrist itself.
It also lets you take your hand off your throttle and get
Yep.
into some of the stuff we're about to talk about.
Yep.
Well, and that's one of the things that is incorporated into our profile design is we do have some people with real world experience. And the person you mentioned has it, and he has been a really good consultant for me. In fact, one of the things I thought I was very proud of is when I took him to the initial designs, he said a lot of these things are in the same places that I've put them. And I was like, okay, good, because I'm bringing my flight sim background into this. I'm trying to use Star Citizen into this and not have any one rigid way, but try to bring the systems together so that we can do all of those things and move, shoot, communicate as a group. So these profiles aren't being done just haphazardly. There's a serious method to the madness and a serious level of experience that comes into it. I mean, even Jay and I have talked about it, and some of the reasons he's mandated stuff is because he ran a flight sim group for a long time, and he knows the pains of training and trying to get everyone on the same page. And there goes my lights, Jay. You were a liar.
Well, we went longer than I thought. I'm sorry.
My background lights ran on battery. I told you I couldn't start them early. Oh no, it'll be fine. So
Yeah, I didn't think we would go this long, but we got to keep going. Okay, now on to the ugly.
Okay.
Standalone joysticks. They're just not worth it. Don't buy them. Stick with mouse and keyboard if that's all you can afford. Look at a gamepad maybe, but don't spend money on one of these Logitech 3D Extreme Pros or something. $30, $40 sticks. Just not worth it. You're not going to. Each his own, but if you want to get into combat flying and be able to be really effective, in our opinion, not the stick to invest in. Also, you're going to find a Thrustmaster T-Flight HOTAS. It's junk. Save up another $20 and get a Satec X52 or a TMS 16,000 HOTAS, which is a real HOTAS. Anybody disagree with either of those recommendations?
no, there's not enough buttons or hat switches. It's just going to take you away from any ability to control the multiple things you need.
No, Riddler. The bad was dual sticks. The ugly is these cheap things that nobody should buy.
Yeah, no, don't.
And there should be consensus on that they're just not a worthwhile investment. Okay, moving on. Rare items. And we don't have screenshots for all this, and I'm going to kind of go through it because we got one more segment and we're already, about 10 minutes over. So the first one is touchscreens. I swear by touchscreens. And Josh recently took my advice and he's got a pit, which we don't have a picture of, but let me tell you, it's pretty kick-ass, if I do say so myself. And Josh, you're using a touchscreen in your DCS pit, right?
I am, and I'll try to send you a picture here that I took the other day.
You'd have to send it to Jaglin.
Oh, okay. If she can send
it to the Hangar Ready account on Discord.
I'll do that here in a second when we're done.
Okay.
But no, I'll tell you, being obsessed over controls recently, and I mean, when I say obsessed, I've been up at night while we're watching TV with my wife, and I got a clipboard and a piece of paper like I did in the plane. And I'm thinking, maybe I could move this here, and I could add this, or we could rearrange that. So being obsessed with controls recently, adding that has been a dream of mine for a long time. I've wanted to be able to see the gauges better, which I think a real pilot, you need to not just monitor your HUD that has all the information, but the actual physical gauges, World War II style gauges down there, you need to see them because they are your backups. So being able to see that's nice, but interacting with that MFD and controlling that screen, I can't imagine what that'd be like in Star Citizen, to be able to go in and adjust your power or change your settings so that you can contact the local landing areas, or, I mean, for everything you do, that's just going to be another game changer that I think is an advantage.
Well, and the ability to have more buttons to press. You don't have the tactile feel that you get with some of these other options, but definitely something to consider.
Yeah,
the next
I say it's a good thing.
Yep. Next on the list is jog dials. If you are a miner and you are doing mining, now everybody's using their mouse wheel. Most mouse wheels have a detent or a clicky click as you scroll it, and you don't have a lot of fine control. There are some mice out there that you could flip them into infinite spin, but even on some of those, the control isn't super fine. I have found, and myself and Jaglin are using them, and in my stream next time I've got a little camera that will be able to show the use of it. But it's a jog dial. Think of a 1970s, 1980s big old heavy volume control that you can use to spin the mining laser one way or the other really quickly and really precisely. Yeah, Shuttle is the brand we're using. There's a bunch of them. They're not necessarily all that expensive. You can find them as cheap. Some models, Virtual Mate or Power Mate was another one that you could find on eBay for like $20, and shuttles you can find for $30 or $40, $50 new, all the way up to $100 if you want some extra buttons. But the much finer control on mining and makes mining a lot easier. So if you're going to be a miner, that's probably a control worth looking at.
Now I will jump in, Jay.
Mm-hmm.
One of the people testing for me and working on a profile on the 56, there are some analog rotary dials that are on the base of that. And he said in using it that it was more precise than the mouse and that he really liked it. So that's another consideration.
Definitely. That and jog dials give you a lot more control in my opinion. And Jaglin, we're going to go ahead and look at keypads. You can bring up that keypad.
Do you see how obsessed I've been with controls? I know all these things about all these HOTAS. I don't even own them.
Yes, I know. And so we're going to switch over. Jolly found this picture for us of these keypads. Keypads are wonderful, but I think Jolly would only recommend 3 out of the 4 of these, right, Jolly?
I started using keypads for FPS gaming, and they're still very valid for FPS gaming and Star Citizen. I still strongly recommend them. And if you're a keyboard and mouse flyer and SC, I also recommend still getting a keypad rather than just sticking with the basic keyboard itself. All the keys are right there. A couple of things to keep considering. They must be all programmable. Okay, don't just get something that's locked into one thing or another. They can get a little bit on the pricey side. Can you put that graphic up again for me, Jaglin, please? The 4 let's pull 4 out here. The Razer Nostromo was the first one I got. It worked great. It was great for FPS gaming, but it is really limited the number of keys are down there. I no longer would recommend that one at all. The G13 is probably the best one I've found out there in terms of number of keys that are there, ease of use, ease of programming. These are all backlit, which is very important. But the problem is I have gone through 2 G13s. They last about 6 months at a time. I think I've just had bad luck with them. But I like the first one so much that even though it crapped out after 6 months, I bought a second one. So I do recommend the G13. They're, like I said, they're a bit on the pricey side.
If you can find them. They're
if you
not
can find
made
them
anymore.
They're not, yeah.
They are expensive too.
They are indeed. But it is the best one I've found to date. Now, when I couldn't find one of those, I still wanted to get one. I got a Logitech Orb Weaver. It does not quite have the same number of keys as a G13, but it's also ease of use. Obviously, same company, so a lot of the same features are still there. Same software to support it. And it works out well. One thing I would be advised against is watch out getting too crazy with it. The AULA 30 is a good example. If you're going to have something with that many bloody keys on a keypad, just throw it away and stick it to the keyboard, because you still way you have muscle memory, which what you're using on a keypad is it's all muscle memory. You're not looking at the bloody thing, trying to figure out which key I'm hitting. And if you get something with that many keys on it, your muscle memory is just not going to be able to develop well enough in order to use it. So watch what you want to get. And if you want to use a keypad, I recommend the Orb Weaver right now. There's probably some other good ones out there. I'm certainly open to other suggestions that may be available. Logitech's still a good company. Razer's still a good company. I know a lot of guys badmouth it, but like I said, I've had bad luck with G13s. But I do advise one, if nothing else, for FPS gaming in Star Citizen itself.
Yep, and I would definitely recommend to folks that if you have some favorite peripheral of yours, keep an eye on it. And when they go on clearance, buy a bunch of them from Amazon. So recently, I like those G602 mice, and they've been phased out for a new model. And they went on sale for $15 a piece, and I bought a bunch of them because, they're not going to be, they're going to be $200 a piece if I ever want to replace them. And so for $15, I bought 4 of them, gave one to Jaglin, and have 2 in spare to use when those break. So that's how picky I am about peripherals.
I want to address a quick question that was asked in the chat about the T1600. Yes, you can use that without pedals. In fact, we have a new little twist we've learned about how to, because there's a twist on the stick, and then on the throttle, there's a paddle. And if you don't change it in the software, they do the same thing, but we've actually figured out how to separate those. And we can now use that paddle for something like dynamic zoom or a mining laser. We're going to figure out exactly what to do with that. But yes, you can.
Yep. And then finally, the last peripheral is Elgato Stream Decks.
I have one.
Yeah, they're great. We're using, Jacqueline is punching away as you see her switching screens. She won't put, Jacqueline, why don't you wave hi to everybody real quick? Hold on, just so that she gets a little bit of, she does not like that. I'm going to pay for that later. But the Elgato Stream Deck is great. It's fully customizable. You can use it. It is expensive, but if you hunt around, you can find them on the cheap on eBay, and sometimes they go on massive clearance sales. So, keep an eye out for that. But, it's definitely an option.
I like the fact that you can customize the icons on it. So you can make it for anything you want, and you have to look at it, and it's probably better to memorize it, but you can see exactly what it is.
And you can have on-offs and be able to see the on and the off.
Yes.
So there's wonderful things in that space, like lights on and off if you needed that for some reason. Let's say you're a miner and you need to turn your lights on and off, for your mining guys.
Somebody pointed out the Orb Weaver's a Razer product, not a Logitech. You're right. The symbol's actually worn down on mine. I couldn't see it anymore.
And there's a Stream Deck right there on the screen with Josh.
Yeah, this is the medium-sized one, I think it is.
Yep.
And it's really easy to program. The software is great, and it works on both iOS and PC.
Oh, well, and I think we've got a new 15-key unit for in here that hasn't been installed yet that we'll be switching to. It'll make it a little easier for Jacqueline, because right now she has to do some mouse stuff and some click. So we're doing pretty good. So guys, we've got a decision to make. We're over. We've got about 12 minutes left in the broadcast. Do we want to shelve Theaters of War for our next show?
I'd shelf it for next time.
And let's answer some questions, open it up to chat for questions, and just jibber jabber for 5 minutes or so, and then we could call the show. We'll talk about Theaters of War. So guys, we're going to move that to episode 5, which will be in February. And we haven't picked a date, but we'll get one picked out soon. So any questions you have about HOTAS's peripherals 3.8 issues, or, telling us how we don't know what we're talking about when it comes to, dual sticks or the Argo Mole. By the way, I am not a big fan of a lot of stuff. I'm mostly a cargo hauler combat guy, but I actually got an Argo Mole because I loved the multiplayer aspect of the mining. Just loved it. Absolutely. Jolly, and I got the black carbon one that is the special purchase, same price, but I like it a lot better than the orange one. Jolly, have you picked up an Argo Mole?
No, I skipped on them. I did fly it around for a while. I think it's great. I had nothing negative to say about it other than what I pointed out in terms of it's difficult to fly solo. Probably just stuck with the Prospector for now.
There's a question in chat from Riddler. Jolly, G13 is the thumb analog or digital?
Jeez, let me pull it out from the broken pile.
Yeah, I think it's analog.
I think it's analog.
It is analog. It can be set up as a joystick input.
Yeah.
So, what about you, Turing? I know you're mostly a cargo hauler as well, but did you get an Argo Mole? And what do you think about flying in it?
Nope. I flew it when it was available, both in the PTU and for subscribers that first week or so, but it's not my background. So I loved sitting in others and running the laser. I will pilot it, but it's not something that I wanted to add to my inventory right now. I got the Prospector to do solo mining.
Yep. Well, and a crazy idea. We should do a stream at some point, all four of us and an Argo Mole.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
that would be hilarious. Sure. I mean, it'd be great. Okay. Josh, you didn't get one of them? I know you like flying blow up stuff.
I do, but the reason I didn't is kind of because I'm cheap. As much as I've spent on my
on your couch.
Yeah, my couch today. I say that, but I have an Orion, and the standing ship, the Loner Matrix, gives me both the Prospector and the Mole. So,
yes, the Orion.
So until my big boy comes out, I've got the little ones to play with.
So, where is Turing and Josh's Hangar Ready shirt? Well, I got to get Turing's address. We're definitely getting him one before the next broadcast because we've adopted him. And Josh, this is his first time. Oh, sorry.
California, all the way, right here.
California, all the way. Yeah. We'll have to get Josh one at some point as well. But definitely Turing's getting one before next broadcast because we've kind of adopted him. He's great. He knows so much stuff, and he's fun to talk to. So unless Turing says, no, I'm done, we're going to invite him back as one of our regular co-hosts. So what other question? Any other questions, guys? If not, we're going to go.
I have a question for you.
Go ahead. Shoot.
On the touch screens.
Yes.
Wow.
I know there's the company that shall not be named. As far as touchscreens, but what do you recommend to do that to? Yeah, it's Game Glass. Yeah, I wasn't going to say it, but what do you use for that?
So I use a piece of software called Touch Buddy right now, and
that sounds like something I don't know who would put that out, but
well, no, it sounds weird, but it's actually been out for years and it works real well. There's also another piece of software called Helios. That is what Josh is using. There's limitations on both of them that have to do with your configuration setup. Helios is good if you are a one computer only kind of setup on your pit. Touch Buddy is better if you have the ability to have multiple PCs.
Does it work with a tablet?
It does. It works with any Windows device.
Okay.
So any Windows tablet, any
Does
Windows
Helios
computer.
work for any Windows device too?
It will only work on your main computer that is running Star Citizen.
Okay.
So yes, it runs on Windows. But it doesn't, so you don't have the ability to have multiple of them or to have network connectivity or anything like that. Touch Buddy allows you to have a computer so you're not slowing down your gaming rig, and it'll interact with your gaming computer over the network.
So we have a question about voice attack.
Yeah, I used voice attack for Elite Dangerous. Loved it. And when I first started in the Star Citizen, I also had voice attack for it, but I don't use it now when we're doing, because of the communication issues within the org operations. You can't, unless you got some way to toggle it on and off, I'm not that sophisticated. I stay away from it. Plus, I just thought that you needed to learn how to use your HOTAS to be able to fly it, and not rely upon just speaking to be able to run your ship.
I would say this real quick, and that is, nobody's going to stop you from using it, but we do reserve the right to make a lot of fun of you when you're flying along and all of a sudden eject out of your ship.
Or we listen to you in the background talking to your ship. Or something like that. That's really what's going to happen is somebody's going to start talking. It's like the guy at the food court who's talking into his phone, cell phone when you're down there. So,
well, let me address this question here.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
What about it?
Yeah.
Warthog script.
Are you asking? Is there going to be a button available to turn on the voice attack? Because I'm not going to add an extra button for a peripheral that only a few people might have.
So
I can tell you that.
His question is, can the ADI Warthog script be set up so that it only functions when when Star Citizen is running? And the answer to that is no. That there is. So what's happening? So like the Shuttle Pro that we're talking about, which is the jog dial, and some of the other peripherals. They have a profile that auto detects that Star Citizen's running. They work, and then when Star Citizen closes, they don't work anymore.
I see.
And so, no, if that's your question, that is not a feature of the Thrustmaster or the Logitech software today. So you're out of luck on that one. You can have different profiles, though, and you can switch them. So you could have a blank profile that you could switch to when you wanted to. but you'd have to do that by alt-tabbing out. There's really not a good way around that.
And my profiles are so amazing. You don't need voice attack.
Yeah. But really, voice attack
Good
is really
muscle memory.
dangerous. It's really dangerous. And you will be communicating with somebody, and if you're not careful, voice attack will pick it up. You won't realize it, and it'll think you're wanting to do it instead of you telling your wingman to do it. So, but it's each his own. I won't use it. Jolly, will you be using voice attack? Do you think?
No, I'll skip on that.
Okay, so I think all four of us sitting here would not use it at this point with the way we run org ops, but each his own. So, emote stuff like that. Maybe, that's what a touch screen's for. So that's my take. Okay, well let's wrap things up. We're here. We're at the hour and a half mark, and I tricked Josh into letting his lights run out. I'm so sorry, Josh. We'll have to find you a power brick for those.
Yeah.
But I think we had a good show tonight, and I'm really excited about what's coming in Star Citizen. I think if we can get some stability changes out of 3.8.1, Star Citizen is looking pretty snazzy. So, Jolly, what are your thoughts on the month ahead?
I don't see much of a change. I don't expect a 3.8.1 to drop in the next 30 days or so, maybe soon after that. It has to hit Evocati again. Let's play with it for a little bit, and then hopefully they'll press on after that. Obviously, we're still looking for, I think next up is the Cutlass Red. It's supposed to be released next month, and then after that, we're looking for the Karak.
Yep. Yay! Sometime in the next 60 to 90 days. Karak time!
Yeah.
Okay. Turing, what's your thoughts for the next month or so?
I would probably say I disagree a little bit with Jolly. I think the quality of life patch is going to be coming sooner rather than later on that one, perhaps in the next week and a half. I'm not sure they'll push that one to Evocati or not to run, because it's bug fixes that they know they need to iron out. The 3.8.2 though, when they drop the Karak, yes, they'll push that.
Oh yeah, that'll be
the
Evocati
Evo for sure.
Cutlass Red will be Evo too.
Yeah, as well. I thought the Karak was coming before the Cutlass Red, but I'd have to look back in the Spectrum post. They do have the Spectrum post for the next. They had the mold, the Cutlass Red, and the Karak on a release schedule for this quarter.
Yep.
As far as the future, I'm really looking forward to the coming Friday when they update the roadmap with all the caveats that just because it's on the roadmap doesn't mean it's going to happen.
Lots of change.
Yeah, it's subject to change, but it does give us, I think this is going to give us an idea of where they're planning on going. And then just a final point, if you haven't got an opportunity to take a close look at the new Planet Tech, you're really missing out.
Oh God,
The Planet Tech is just fantastic, and I can't wait till they start getting some actual quantum points down on Microtech, so I don't have to fly for 15 fracking minutes to get down to the conifer trees. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yep, it's amazing though once you get down there.
Oh yeah.
So Planetech V4. Josh, there's one question on when we can expect X52 profiles, and then tell us what you're looking forward to in the next month.
So anyone who doesn't know what 2 weeks means in the flight sim community, I'm just going to say 2 weeks.
Soon TM.
Yeah, 2 weeks could mean 2 years. No, that one has been designed. We are working on it. Some of the things that people don't know is it takes a significant amount of time from the time it's planned and drawn out to get the profile into the software and working. And then we got to duplicate it and make sure that I can make someone else use it on their machine, and hopefully a couple of people. And then we've got to write up all of the instructions that it takes to do this, because CIG makes some unfriendly natural settings that we have to undo. And we have to kind of MacGyver to get this to work in the system the way that we want, because there are certain things that CIG doesn't do or that the system doesn't. So there is no easy path for any of this. So it takes a little bit of time. I'd love to give you a date. I would hope in a couple of weeks, but if it takes a month, I wouldn't be surprised.
And kind of our goal there is to do one a month new. And then, that way within a month, once we get to 3.9, for example, and they change some stuff, it should only take us a month to roll out the existing ones that have been done.
Well, and that's the thing. So when 3.8 came out, we relaunched the 1600. Well, we launched the 1600 for the first time and relaunched the Warthog all in the first week. We have not launched any of these other ones, so it's not just an update or a refresh. It's still in complete design. So yes, once those are designed, they probably will come out within a couple of weeks of a new build, and they'll just roll out as it goes along.
Yep.
So
So
the thing I'm looking forward to the most is Theaters of War. And I when I first saw that video, the thing that came to my mind was this is going to be a place to test. We have done a lot of little org ops and a lot of little missions, but until you get out there and really smash things into each other and force people in close proximity to use some of the APCs, if we're going to call it that at this point, some of the ships in combat and conducting missions over and over and over again, I'm excited to see what that test bed does, how it affects what they do with ship handling, with balances for weapons and shields. So that's the thing I'm looking forward to the most. I'm sure that'll be in Evocati pretty soon. And I think once that rolls out, I think 3.9 and on are really going to probably benefit from that.
yeah, I'm going to say that we're going to cover Theaters of War in detail in the February show. So,
And Jay, I just have an update on the ship release. It does say Cutlass Red in January, Carrack in February, and it was the Prowler that's coming out in March.
woo!
The Prowler.
Yep. Let's hope that works.
The Red, let's hope that it's not another like Starfarer or Reclaimer where they release the ship without the mechanic. That's what it's looking like. But
I
maybe we'll have
that's
some
going to be the
medical
case,
stuff.
unfortunately. Video and him. Yep. Yep. We are doing more videos. I'm streaming once or twice a week, and we're going to be doing some ops now, so we'll be streaming those. Just stay tuned, and we'll have news on that and emails going out. So we really appreciate everybody showing up tonight. We will be doing another show in February, and we'll try to get the date out for that fairly soon. I'd ask, but I don't want to put people on the spot live on the stream. But I would suspect that I have the date for that, but I want to circle around and make sure that everybody else can make it for that date. Like to thank the king of the fighter mafia, Callie Josh, for joining us for his first time. There's some talk about you and I and a couple other fighter guys getting together and doing one of these Hangar Ready podcasts that are just fighter mafia, all about light fighters and killing stuff. Controllers, is that something that might happen, or you now that you've done this, you want to run away screaming?
No, I get so many questions, and there's so many complicating factors and so many considerations at one time that I think it's very helpful for people to understand why we're building them, how we build them, and then to talk about how they're used in a context like that, I think would be fantastic. I would love to do a show like that. I'd love to get some of the people that we resource who have real world experience to come on here. I have talked to some of those. They are willing to do that. So I think that would be a great show. I'd love to see maybe in the forums how many other people are interested in that or in the comments. But I think it would be really good to take live feedback to discuss what we're finding and using it, and just kind of marry. I mean, look, the HOTAS is where the game really meets your hands, right? This is where you interact with the game, and how it works in combat, I think would be a great show.
I agree. I think that we could do some special fighter mafia podcasts. But okay, with that said, yes, I know Lacoste screaming like a girl is always hilarious, but and there is a YouTube video of that.
I'll rap for you if you want.
No, we don't need that. No, but in all seriousness, guys, thank you very much. And definitely, if Turing gets me his address, which I guess is probably sitting in my Discord right now, he will have a cool Hangar Ready t-shirt by next episode. So, but thank you guys. It's been a great evening. Thank you. We have had 40 to 50 people on the stream, lots of chat. Really love that, guys. We look forward to doing this with you next month. And you could always reach us at discord.hangarready.com. So thanks. Have a great weekend.